Yes. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, we are all good then. Yeah, welcome everybody. I'm super excited to see so many people here. A little bit about myself. Well, my name is Liz. I'm working as a product designer at Virtro. I am normally based in Vancouver, but today, this is a fun fact, I'm talking to you from India. This is the magic of working remotely. I can move around. So I'm here in Oroville in Pondicherry. That is a international community where very interesting things happen. Like many people coming here to do some things like good research for the environment, and it's a very interesting experience. So I'm learning a lot here about different things that are not designed. 7 in the morning here, so I woke up very early to be with you today, and I hope you enjoy the presentation today. Okay, so today is I think this is the first series of all the presentations for this design challenge. I just want to highlight how important the design challenge is. As the same as you, many of you here in this room, I studied software engineering, and I changed my career like 3 or 4 years ago to UX design, and it started like this. I went like most of you, online studying some courses and things, and then I came to this community and I did I think it was the first design challenge we did, and that was my best case study at that time in my portfolio. So I can't highlight enough how important it is to do this. Take it very seriously, go to all your meetings with your team, because it will give you a competitive advantage when you are applying for jobs. Okay, your portfolio will look great. Okay, so today is the first presentation, so it's more around the problem definition, user research, and I'm going to, I know most of you has some idea how to conduct research and all that and do surveys. So I'm not going to give you a tutorial on how to do it, because anyone, if you don't know now, you can go to the internet and just, download a template. But I'm going to share with you the things you should pay attention, because when it's a difference from when you study something and then you have to apply it, you will notice that there are many details coming up, and you have to navigate those problems, and you have to do some things a little bit differently. Okay, so a little bit about research, problem definition, user interviews, surveys, and how to conduct a comparator analysis. Okay, just to start with, why to conduct the user research, and many of you know, is to gain insights into what the users need. And I think it has been a big shift in the paradigms of the way we are making software, the modern software, and everything is becoming more personalized, and many companies are now focusing more in understanding how the users interact with the tools. So it's a very important part of what we do normally as user experience designers in the companies. So we want to know about them. What do they like? What they don't like? What do they need? That's the main thing. How they behave. That's a different thing altogether, because sometimes you ask users, what do you like, or how do you find this, and they will tell you, yeah, this is perfect, but it's actually not. So you have to have the skills to kind of go deep and try to make them talk about what they don't like about something, or what they need. So it's a little bit of an art to it. And this for these events, it will happen mainly at the beginning of the project. But in real life, this keep happening again and again and again. It's not only when you are creating the product, it will happen every time you launch a new feature, or if you are seeing that your data, I mean, many people are coming to your web page, but they are not buying your product. You have to go back there and try to understand why. So it's a recurring activity you will do many, many times. So the first thing I want to highlight here is you should start with a problem and not with a solution. I know that's super difficult because even for this event, you say, okay, we will kind of do an app that is doing this or that, so you have kind of the product in mind, but after you do user research, something might change a bit, and you might change what you are doing, what is your final product. So for example, let's say your initial idea for this event, it will be to make a mobile app that connect pet owners with local pet-friendly business and services. It's fairly, general. And then you will create how might we statement, and then how might we create a mobile app that help pet owners easily find and connect with local pet-friendly businesses and services, while also providing value to the businesses and ensuring a seamless user experience for pet owners. Okay, so you start there. And then you go out there, and then you start talking with users. And then you realize that actually people don't have the problems with many services for pets, but actually just they always have problems maybe with the vet because they were not very good, or they were not very thoughtful, they don't have good experience, and they keep changing, or they move to another place and they have to look for another trustable, vet, or maybe they have exotic pets, and that's the most difficult thing. So maybe find like very specific, like a specialist, So everything changed a little bit. So now instead of creating the app that connects many services, maybe it's more focused on the vet part. So we will change the statement, and it's how might we create a mobile app that helps pet owners easily to find and connect with high quality veterinary clinics in the area. So when you change your statement, that will open your mind to create other kind of features in your app. So maybe now instead of focusing in many things, you will focus in only the vet part, and because it's so important and people have problems like browsing the different vet, maybe you will come up with an idea of, okay, maybe we can give a 10 minutes online chat with the vet, so then people feel more comfortable and then they actually go in person. I don't know, just to give a simple example. But when you change that statement, it will really open your mind to think differently and about the features you want to put in your app or in your website. So first thing is start with a problem. Don't close your mind to something very specific. Just keep this statement very, very broad for now, and before you start the ideation part. Okay, so user interviews. This is I think the most fun part of all the process. I really like it. First, you have to, and we want to talk about how to define your target users, how you find these users, and how you have to prepare for the interview sessions. First, about the target users, you have to realize that you can't design for everyone. You have to prioritize certain groups of users. So, for example, in the vet app, maybe I don't care about all the people with pets, but I care about people with exotic pets that probably they have more challenging times, to find things. So maybe those will be the people who maybe will pay, for an app instead of having it free. So it will change how you see your product. So try to define what is your ideal audience. Try to look for people diverse, and that's very important. Normally, because we don't have a big network of people, or maybe you post something in Discord channel or LinkedIn, I'm looking for users to interview. Maybe your friends or people in your same age will come and talk with you. Okay, yeah, it's fine, but try to look for people in different age range, because they will understand your app or your website in a different way. People from different countries, or people, something so simple as people, let's say there are many immigrants in the US and Canada, and with different level of English. So maybe your interface is having some complicated words, and they are not understanding, or so there are many different details that are defined for in you can see in that diverse group of people. So try to broaden your target user and look for people with different backgrounds and age and gender. Also, try not to look for only people who are very use a lot of apps and they are very tech savvy. Try to make it more broad. Maybe interview your mom or your uncle, because if they can use something, if it's part of your target audience, if they can use it, everyone can use it. So it's a win-win situation. Experience level. For example, someone who had never used an app for the problem you are trying to solve. So you will see people who can give you more different feedback because they know the apps are there and they know how to expect. And you will have people that have never thought about looking for a service for an app, for a website to solve their problem. So try to mix people. And something very important, availability. Try to look for people who has time. I had this experience in my company that we were testing some VR thing, and because the people who had the VR headset, they were like very busy people, like people in like a very high in their companies, like CEOs and kind of thing. And at the end, it didn't work very well because they didn't have time to come with us to do a user testing, for example. So it wasn't the ideal audience. So be mindful and try to look for people that really want to share with you and has the time and have the resources to do it. So this will happen to you. What if I can't find ideal users? Also, you will recruit people, and then for the time you are going to meet with them, they will not going to show up. So probably you had 10 people at the beginning and you interview only 3. So what else you can do? I think a good idea is to use proxies, and proxies are people who are not your ideal users, or they are not your final users, but you can learn through them the experiences of your final users. So for example, let's say I am doing an app that helps freelancers to get projects, okay? And for some reason, I can't find too many people freelancing. So who else I can recruit for a user interview? Maybe career counselors or coaches. Some of these people sometimes has a network of people that they are not currently freelancing, but they are looking for a job. So they might know their situation, what they are looking for, or the kind of experience they have, or the kind of jobs they are looking for. So you will know a bit about freelancers through them. Small business owners, normally small businesses hire freelancers to do little things like a web page. So they know how to communicate with them. They know how to find them. Maybe they have some platform they are using. They know how they communicate with the freelancers. So even if you are not interviewing the freelancers, you are interviewing someone who maybe had a very high interaction with them. So you will know about their context too. Or I don't know, freelance consultants or recruiters that similar to career counselors, they might be in touch with these people. So don't always think of the final user. There's, for example, when you are working, when you find your job, let's say I don't have access to users for some reason, and maybe I can go to talk with the customer service, and they know all the complaints and what the users are saying. So I won't do user interviews, but at least I can go to the customer service and I can learn a bit more about what is happening. So be creative, okay? Don't just close. Don't make it so difficult to find people. And even if you don't find a big amount of people, just interviewing 3 people is better than nothing. So just try to find. I think the ideal I always hear is the 5 people rule. Like after you interview 5 people, you should be seeing some patterns. So that should be enough, but do it as much as possible. Research questions, and this is interesting. The research questions are not the questionnaire you will use for your interviews. It's more about is putting in paper the questions that are going to guide your research. So this is what I want to know. It's not what I'm going to ask, but what I want to know as a designer. So they will help you to keep focus, because your research can go all over the place, it's keep changing, and you will, after a couple of sessions, you might want to share some questions, change something in your script and all that. So when you go back to your research question, that allow you not to keep asking forever and ever, and just focus on what you want to do. Also, doing this exercise will allow you to keep your bias in check, because you have a lot of assumptions about the user, and that's normal. And then when you go to the interview, you will try to leave your ideas there and then actually listen to your user. But we are humans, so we tend to hear everything through those ideas, pre-ideas we have. So the fact that you are going to write that, it will allow you to really pay attention, like what I wrote this is actually what I'm hearing from the users. Okay, so I will give you an example how to do this. Let's say your research question is, what are the most important features that freelancers look for when using a platform to find short-term on-demand gigs, so the short contracts? So my hypothesis, one of the things they might have some problems is the communication. So communication with potential clients can be chaotic and spread out in many platforms. So I feel like they might need a space to keep all their communications in one platform. Okay, so that's one of the features they might want to see in my app. But I put it here because it is my assumption, because I know some friends are freelancers, or I am freelancing myself. So maybe this is something I'm pretty sure that it's something we will add in the app. So instead of asking if you want that, I will ask the user, what channels or platform do you typically use to communicate with the client during a contract job, email, phone, messaging apps, maybe some management app, or etc. How often do you typically communicate with clients? So it's something about more like an email type, like asynchronous thing, or it's more about messaging. And then have you ever had to adjust your communication style or approach based on the need or preference of a particular client? So how broad, how different can be those communication channels? So maybe after asking this question, let's see, everyone say like, no, I mean, fairly straightforward. I don't have too much problem. Yeah, I have some a little bit, but I mean, just emails, because then I want to have, approve what they say and kind of a contract. So maybe I feel like it's not really a need for them. So I will, because I read it was my hypothesis, and I didn't hear that, I would say this hypothesis is not true, and I will just move on and do something else. Okay, but it's very important to go back and see that it was your idea and you didn't hear from the user, and that now just move on. Okay, so very important to be clear of what is your thinking and what is their thinking about something. The other thing you will have some problems is about their bias, and this is a very unconscious thing. You will ask the users, what are the main problems you have with this, and they will tell you a lot of things. But then you realize that this is something normally that maybe they hear, or those are the problems they're supposed to be having, but they actually don't have them. When you really go into the interview, you realize like, no, I don't know, why did you say this was a problem? Because I feel like this is not the problem is something else. So when you are asking something, try to travel in time with them. Try to put them in context first, and then ask them something. So when they remember something that happened to them, and then you ask them, they will be more clear in their head, and they will answer properly. Like it will be a better information for you. So for example, instead of asking, what are the main communications problems you are having with your clients, you can ask, have you ever had a negative experience with a client that could have been prevented with better communication? And if you had it, can you describe it to me? So they won't say like, oh yeah, clients are always busy and they never answer my emails. But I actually, maybe that didn't happen, but maybe they will remember the last time they had a client, a complicated client, and they will tell you that specific experience, and that will open up their minds to talk about the problems they are having. So put them in context first, ask them to remember the last time. I mean, I'm doing an app to help people to people who go clubbing, you know, in the night, and they have to jump into clubs. So instead of asking them in general, just tell me the last time you went out with your friends, and you went. When was that? 2 weeks ago. Oh, okay, great. And okay, now can you tell me what was the main problem you had the last time you went? Okay, so some things like that. Just ask them to remember something, and then you ask them something. And the last tip is keep it open. You will have a script with all the introductions. Thank you for coming. This is going to happen in the session. Are you okay? Do you have any questions? But then you will have your set of questions, and you will realize that people will go to tell you stories. So maybe you will find something in the story that is interesting for you. So maybe you can stop there a bit and do some, you know, go deep into something. So maybe you will use half of your script or half of your questions, or maybe you will do them all. But the idea is to try to keep in your mind the clear idea of what you want to learn, but not so much about the questions you are going to ask. That's only a guide. And the most important thing, listen. Again, the bias. We come from with some ideas because we have, maybe this is the 5th interview and you heard your user saying something, so they will start saying the same thing to you, and you kind of turn off, and then I know what this people is going to say. But no, keep listening, because sometimes there's little details that might make the whole difference. So listen to the whole story or the whole answer. Don't complete their words if they don't remember something. Just give them time. Be comfortable with silence, because they are a little bit under pressure. They are talking with you. This is something important. So be very comfortable with silence. Give them the space, and let them do most of the talking. What I do that is very useful for me, I will, if I have a user interview, I will connect 10 minutes before and, make sure all my setup is fine. And then before connecting the 2 minutes, I will just close my eyes and just center myself and say, okay, I need to listen now. I leave all my ideas there and I just calm down, and that allow me really to listen better. So take a moment to breathe before. Don't go in a rush into an interview, and really concentrate and listen about what they are saying. Don't be over friendly, but don't be like very serious either. Don't try all the time to I know sometimes we want to connect and kind of say, oh yeah, that happened to me too, and oh yeah, I had the same problem. Don't make something bigger, just make it friendly, but try to people want to be liked. So if you are too friendly, they might make something bigger because you are responding, like something a problem they have or something bigger because that they are connecting with you and they are receiving positive feedback. So try to keep it more, calm and straight. Okay, so the other thing you can use for your user research is surveys. Why to use surveys and the best practices to write a surveys. So why to use surveys is this is the easiest way to get some information. You can just send it somewhere, share your link, and you will receive a lot of answers. It's important to do it before the user interviews if you can, because it can guide your user interviews. Maybe you will discover what problems they are having, or what they need, or what they are looking for. But then if you see a pattern there, you can, this will be a very good questions to ask in the interviews, that's to go deep into something. So it discovered the what, but it doesn't discover the why most of the time. And that's especially because if you want to keep a survey simple, you won't have too many open questions. You will have more like multiple selections. So it will give you limited information about their behavior. They are efficient, they're very quick to perform. Anonymous, that's the main thing, because you can reach people more, maybe introverted people. So for me, it's much more, it's easier to go to a survey instead of a user interview. They provide you a standard, so you can compare exactly the same answer from different people. So we give you percentages and kind of a different understanding from the interviews. And yeah, and it's scalable because you can send it. People from all over the world will answer your questions, your survey. So that's very positive too. Best practices: start with a nice intro, make it friendly. Always says how much time this survey will take. That's a very respectful thing to do. So this is an example. I will share these slides later with you if you want to copy something from here. But this is pretty straightforward. And about the questions. So always ask short and very specific questions. So for example, I have seen some surveys saying, have you ever bought this product? I am not sure. Or have you been in this place? And yeah, maybe. Or how often do you do something? I don't know if I'm doing an activity once per week is a lot, or I should be doing more or less. So always ask these questions more specifically, and especially if you want to be very specific, over a period of time. Or have you had ice cream over the last 3 weeks? Because so that's more specific. I can tell you the number, or I can tell you better information. So don't be so vague. Use common language. Try to use simple words. The rule is, if the words has less characters, it's the simplest word in English. Remember, your survey can be read not only from native English speakers. So if you add complicated words, you might discourage people to continue your interview because they don't understand something and they will just close it. Start with easy questions first. That's important. Don't go straight to the to the meat of everything. Try to warm them up. So I had the feeling of completion. So I started your survey and I'm the third question already, and it was fairly easy. So I feel like keep going. So if you ask me something very complicated at the beginning, or an open question, for example, I will answer, okay, this is my name, my email, and then tell me about something, and then you ask me to write, and it's like, I won't continue, and I will close it. So start very simple, so the user will feel like completing your survey. This is something, if you can, label all the values in the scale. So sometimes we say, how much do we like something? And we put the ranges 1 to 5, or 1 to 7, or 1 to 10. That's okay, but sometimes it's a bit confusing. So if I have a scale of 1 to 5, and then, for example, I say, how confident do you feel doing this? And then I have 1 is not confident at all, and 5 is super confident. So what is a 3? Like, I'm not confident, or I'm a little bit confident, or what? So those middle things sometimes become a bit blurry, and some people will understand that 3 as something, and other people will understand that 3 like something that didn't happen. So if you want to be very clear, and that question is important to you, like to be very precise, don't put the scale 1 or 5, just put the five options, the I, B, C, D, E, okay? And just write it there. So I'm very clear of what I'm answering. Also, address only one aspect of a question at a time. Don't ask, for example, how fast and reliable was the app used. Maybe the app was fast, but it was not reliable. And so what should I answer? Like, yes, no. So try to only focus your question in one thing. This is fairly obvious. Avoid overlapping ranges. I've seen some surveys like your first option between 1 to 3, and then 3 to 7. So I'm I'm in the tree, so what should I answer, A or B? So that will be a bit confusing. Don't ask leading questions, be fairly neutral. So for example, how great has been your experience? You are really making that positive. Okay, so just how was your experience? That's good enough. This is important because almost all the tools we use for surveys has this kind of questions. They include question grids. So when you have 5 different questions and you have the 5, like a ranking, for example, like a 1 to 5, so, and then you have all these questions, like 3 or 4 questions put in a row. Some people don't like to question. It looks like a complicated and they have to take effort to make an effort to answer. So do you really need to have this kind of question? They look cool, but it's not, it might not be mobile friendly. So try to avoid them. If you can make it simple, maybe, and you have 5 of those questions, maybe 3 are the most important one, and make them like 3 separate questions. It will be much better. And the ranking questions, that's the other one. This one, they tell you for you have 5 things, and then you ask them, order this by the most important and the less important, for example, or the one you like the most and the one you like the least. They are very difficult to do in the mobile normally. It's difficult because people have very clear what is the from those 5, maybe 2 they are great, and then what do I do with the rest of the 3? Again, the cognitive load is a little high. So in these kind of questions, you normally want to know what are their favorite things, or the 2 most important things. You really don't care too much about the least thing, or if you care, you can answer that. You can ask that in a different question. So maybe you can change that for select your 2 most interests, the things that are interesting for you, or the 2 favorite, or the one you dislike the most. So you give me the 5 things and I just click on one or 2. Okay, so it's easier for the users to answer those kind of questions. You can use open-ended questions. Don't do too many because that makes the survey longer, but sometimes you need them. For example, when you have a set of answers and then you have others, then I have to write something, or if you want to collect some feedback, something like that, you will need them. And the other thing about the open-ended questions that you can't compare with the users, so it's something that you have to sit and read. So if you have many answers, it will slow your process. And because remember, I think the space for going deep into things is more in the interview than in the survey. So keep these questions as a minimum. Okay, so that's about the user research and the surveys, and now about the comparator analysis. Yeah, 740 is fine. This is a fairly straightforward. I'm going to give you some tips of how to make this a little bit more creative. So there are different kind of competitors. So ones are your direct competitors, that is your competitors are other apps or website or services that are exactly or very close to what are you offering to. So for example, if you are designing a food delivery app, one competitor will be HelloFresh. But I'm not sure if that's out of Canada, but I have seen that in Canada. Then they send you like box ready with all the ingredients to prepare a meal. But in their competitors, they are super important too. And they are not apps or things, but it's the other things that people use to solve their needs. So for example, in the same case of my food delivery app, it will say it will be a grocery store or a restaurant that is not normally considered, but they are actually covering the need of, I need a meal now and I don't want to put a lot of effort. Okay, so you can be creative about the things you are using to compare your idea with. And how to analyze them, you can look for these tests of analysis. Interesting thing, if you are going to analyze another competitor app, for example, go there and you do the the experience of using that app. You can do user testing on other people. They can you can observe them how they interact with a website, with the app, or with the service, and that's very interesting too, because you can discover the pain points they are having, and then in your idea you can incorporate new features to solve those problems. You can do a user journey too. So when after you finish your interviews and you do your journey, you can compare for your main competitor and the best one you have, what is the journey of their clients, of the users, and then yours, and you can discover where you are doing better. So that's a very nice way to showcase your idea and make it clear like you are solving this and they are not solving this problem, for example, for the users. You can do this kind of charts to show things. For example, I have 2 dimensions here, the quality and the price of something, and then you can put here what is your idea and your other competitors, where they are situated. You can do a couple of these and have different dimensions here. Maybe something can be the time spent solving the problem, or even the price if you want. You can have many of these. You can do this typical grid too, like you put your competitors here, and then the different things you analyze, like I don't know if they have the feature of let's say I'm making a ski app for to look the best places to go to ski, and then I can put all the dimensions, like this thing has the weather information, the other app has the possibility of booking online, and then I can compare. It's very easy to see now where your product stands compared with others. So yeah, we are almost going to the end of the presentation. So as a summary, there are many main methods. These are the main methods, the most used methods for user research. You can do much more, but this is the minimum you should be doing. Even if you can't do interviews, at least try to make a lot of surveys. It will give you some information on the best, but something. So something is better than nothing. So try to do as much as you can about this. If you can't have many surveys or user interviews, comparator analysis is very important. Go to other apps and you can see, go to the reviews of other apps or websites. That's quite interesting, because you will see people complaining about a lot of things. You can learn from those complaints too. After you finish your research, this data will help you to create insights, persona, and user journeys. So it's very important. And make sure, this is the most, I think it's the highlight, and I can't stress this enough. Like, make sure that your ideas for feature and all your sketches and all that, when you write your case study for your portfolio, are really aligned with your research. This is the most important thing in all your work. So if you discover at the beginning of your research that the main problem, the main point of someone was this, so I want to see that point in your user in your case study solved in your final sketches. I want to say, if you say the pain point is this one, this is the idea, the final idea I came out with to solve this pain point. So try to really don't try to solve all the things, but choose 2 or 3 things that are very important and solve those in your app and especially in your case study. Connect your research with all your case study. That's super important. Yes, and that's all. Thank you so much for. I hope I didn't speak too fast. I tend to speak too fast sometimes, but I really wanted to give you a lot of information. I know there should be a lot of questions, so maybe we can open the room now for questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Liz. That was very insightful. And